Good afternoon. Okay, so these just came in the mail. I did an unboxing and kind of briefly spun through the books and talked about them, but I decided this would be better. I won't be umming and ahhing so much. So before I decided to go into storage and grab a lot of my old games, I had already ordered the next OSR I plan on running as a GM. There's only two things I'm really going to do in role playing as a GM right now and in the near future. It will be running playtests as we write Dark Age of Man and we work out Dark Age of Man. I'll be running that and playing in that, and of course I want to start running games in this OSR, 3D6 in Order by Richard Tung. So these I'd already ordered, and again, and I'll explain why. So first of all, I'm very, very interested in this particular version of D&D, basically Sword and Wizardry White Box. It's complete. He has a great introductory foreword here where he talks about how this came about, this project came about. It is a complete game. It has everything you need in it, and it's deeper than the average OSR. I don't mean in crunchy rules. I just mean in all the information and all the rules that you would need to play long-term campaigns. So I'll talk about why I liked this particular product. The title instantly won me over because I'm a firm believer in 3-6 straight down. He allows you to, once you pick your class and your race, he allows you to move points into the appropriate prerequisites. So ironically, he says 3-6 in Order. You're not really limited. You could move, if you wanted to be an illusionist or whatever, you could move from strength into intelligence to make that work. So what I like the most about this is it looks and feels a whole lot like the D&D I would like to GM, with the kind of rules that I really love from the Moldvay era. For me, the Moldvay era. Now he talks about Sword and Wizardry White Box, but he gives all those extra things the players want. Different races to play, different classes to play. This stuff I wouldn't probably ever homebrew into Moldvay. I wouldn't say you can be a ranger in Moldvay. I wouldn't say you can be an illusionist in Moldvay. I would say whatever's in Moldvay, that's what you get to be. And if you want to be a ranger, grab a bow and some arrows, but you're a fighter, basically. Well, he puts all that stuff in there. This is complete. And it uses the attack matrix, which I much prefer over the beat a number, target number, D20, right? So he got a great little forward here. But, so to give you an idea, again, the bonuses, right, are very low. We don't get a huge +3, -3 bonuses for dexterity, etc. It's very, very cool. He keeps it in that Sword and White Box limited. So the best you're going to have is a +1 bonus. The worst you're going to have is a -1 penalty. This is huge to me because I don't like my D&D with +4s, +5s, +3s. I like it to stay really clean and tight. Okay, he has alignment, gold, of course, starting, and then again we get to our classes. We've got clerics, and they go to level 10. So this is the other thing I really like. One of the things I love about White Box, and White Box, fantastic medieval adventure game, is we stop at 10, right? We're done. We're not going up to 20 and 30 levels, etc., etc. I really dig that. But we got the cleric. We have the druid, which is important to me. It's one of those I like to play when I play. It feels almost like a combination of first edition AD&D and Moldvay to me. But again, he talks about what he was really trying to do. So the druid, the fighter, this is important because these are the things I like to see and play. The ranger, the paladin. And what I like is these aren't options. They're not added on. They're like, oh, by the way, here's a little option on what the paladin would look like. The paladin, excuse me, I always say the paladin would look like. They are complete, and they're complete with all their frills, right? And the ranger, same way. These are complete classes. The thief, the assassin, the magic user, the illusionist, right? The healer, which is cool. You don't have to just be a cleric. You could be the healer magic user, which is very interesting, and the pyrocaster. So players now get a lot more options to be a more interesting party and they get to choose something that's more what they want to do in this fantasy world we do, right? And then races. We still have the traditional dwarf, elf, halfling, human. But this is really neat. He adds gnome, right? He adds the half elf. He adds the half orc and the half ogre. But he talks about down here why he would not he would not advise that you let players be goblins, orcs, kobolds, etc. They are uncivilized. They are the enemy of the civilized world. They're the enemy. They're the natural enemy of the players. So instead of being an orc, you could choose to be a half orc. There would certainly be a human side of you that would be civilized and ultimately facing the uncivilized. I won't say good and evil, but it's the sense that these things are black and white. These are creatures that you're not going to get along with. So don't let them also be PC characters. So I think that's neat that he allows the half orc, the half ogre. Again, so a lot more options for players to kind of make an interesting character they don't normally get to do in the old school OSR. He does say plainly up here, he wanted to really make OD&D, right? We're talking the first gen OD&D, right? So, he wants this to run with the setting Verbosch, which is an OD&D setting, but he wanted it to have fixes of things he thought needed to be fixed. So it's in the spirit of OD&D, which is right up my alley, right? So again, it's fully fleshed out. It's not a hack, right? So we get full list of equipment and costs, weight, encumbrance, currency. He doesn't leave anything left out. And then he does something that's incredibly important to me, the attack matrix tables. Instead of to hit a target number, we got the attack matrix. So again, if I'm a level 2 fighter, level 2 fighter versus an AC monster, I needed to roll a 9 and up to hit. I love this, right? This to me is Dungeons and Dragons, the attack matrix tables. Okay, then we got Binding of Wounds, which is nice to see this in, right? So you don't just need a healer, you can bind wounds. This is incredibly important, I think, for playing more serious old school D&D, right? It's so important to me. I may not be holding this where you can see it, I'm sorry. To think that these are the things I would leave out of a one-off. This kind of stuff that I grab a simple OSR that's very, very lethal for a one-off because, it's a different thing. But if I'm going to ask players to say, go ahead and make that character and we're going to play, every time I say you guys want to play, we're going to be playing in this campaign world, we're going to be playing this game. They have these ways of trying to keep the lethality down, to keep their characters alive so they can invest themselves in the character. So I like that. I'm okay with that. He covers blind fighting, healing, invisible opponents. Everything's in here. Morale. And then, of course, modifiers for your loyalty and your retainers, your assistants. And then we get to the spell sections. Fantastic. Again, not a ton of spells because it only goes to level 10. So I'm thrilled to see. And again, simple. Range, duration, and it's very simple description. This stuff is old school to me. This is what keeps it simple, but yet deep, right? We have all of this. Chapter 7, running the game. Very nice to see that he put in a DM section, and it's not something I normally use because I'm a veteran, but point is, it's a complete game. Anyone can pick this up that's never really had an OSR, never really done this before, and they're going to have the opportunity to use this to learn how to get started. Monsters, he's got a complete monster, and again, what I love about this is its armor class, hit dice, attacks, special movement rate, experience, and then a description. No art, really. I'm okay with that. I don't mind no art in the games. But this is also very important to me, to see that he puts the other races in as monster blocks: dwarf, elf, gnome, ogre, orc. I want to see when you're dealing with NPC dwarf clan, or you're dealing with other dwarfs in the game, I don't want to make complete characters of the dwarf. I'm going to make the dwarf into a monster block. I'm thrilled to see he did that. I don't have to worry about when you're talking to the commander of the dwarven brigade. All I have to do is to make him a captain is just make his armor class a 2 and give him a little more hit points, and I don't have to invent actual characters that are elves and dwarves, etc. Those things are important. They're the kind of thing that you don't think much about until you're gaming a lot. Gnomes in here, of course, goblins. And then, of course, very cool, he covers treasure. And then, of course, at the end of this great book, I got this on Amazon, by the way, for $8.95. And then Appendix Psionics. I have never used Psionics in my D&D games. I always used Moldvay as a kid, and Labyrinth Lord, basic Labyrinth Lord when I came back. And I've used OSRs that generally leave this out. I love the fact that he put it in here. because it does a lot of things for us. It gives us rules for just how clairvoyance and even how spells would work. But if we choose to allow these things to happen, it's a simple one-page rule on psionics. This is cool. I may actually allow this when I run this now because I have it, and I have it in one page of how this works. It's very cool. And then the OGL legal jargon here. This is fantastic, and I'm not familiar who this gentleman is. I don't know anything about this gentleman. He did write Oddities or something, a game called Oddities. He was the author of Oddities. So I don't know anything about him. Again, I don't always pick games based on author. I pick them based on what I'm looking for. It's a complete game. It's a complete game that feels like a more advanced Sword and Wizardry white box, if I can put it that way. And the things that are advanced in it are actually options for the players that are legitimate, like an actual ranger class, like is defined. The actual druid is defined. The paladin is defined. The gnome is defined. The half orc, half elf are defined. That's important to me because I don't want to have to homebrew that. I don't want to have to pick a game that's more complicated with stuff in it. I have to tell the players to leave out. They want to play a game that involves rangers, but that might have that particular rule book might have rules in it I don't want to have to take out. I like seeing an OSR like this that puts those things in, as opposed to me having to add them, or worse, pick a different game and take out things I don't like. I'll be able to run this rules as written is the gist of what I'm trying to say. So very cool. I won't talk about the death. I think this is probably 0, you die. I don't know if there's any holdovers from, say, Advanced 1E, you can go up to -10 in death. I'm pretty sure hit points, let's see here, once a character roll for his hit points, the fighter from, I don't see death. Let's see what death looks like. Does he cover death in the adventure rules? Let's see. There'll be people that want to know the answers to these questions that haven't seen this. Combat, the attack roll, time, gaining experience. Well, that's a big one, right? A lot of people don't like experience for killing, and let's see. Characters are awarded experience points for killing monsters and accumulating treasure. D&D. That's beautiful. That's Moldvay, right? I'm okay with that. That's traditional. I didn't want to pick an OSR that wasn't traditional. I wanted to pick an OSR that was. So that's exactly what I want to do. I told you that one of the things I've thought about over the last 10 months is how much I would like to play Moldvay or old D&D, or version of D&D that's already in a way edited or ready to go, because I want to have these experiences, right? Okay, combat, time. Let's see, the time. The game master will be required to make general rulings on the passage of time. The two most important are turn and etc. Right? Combat. I'm trying to see where death is here. Determine initiative. One roll is made for each side, not each individual, so I love that, right? So we're going to get a +1 for the guy with the highest initiative or surprise, so I really do that. Determine surprise if a certain extent, this is the judgment of the game master, but roll and a 1 or 2 would be surprised by either side. That's all traditional stuff. The attack roll, again, I already talked about the attack matrix. Specific situations. The following are guidelines for handling specific situations. The binding of wounds, blind fighting, damage, or death. Here we go. When a character is hit, the amount of damage taken is deducted from the hit points. When the hit points reach 0, the character falls unconscious. When hit points reach -10, okay, so again, we're talking about the opportunity, and to me this is 1E. I think Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 1E did this. This allows us to invest ourselves in the idea of characters that are going to be on a campaign, right? So this is fine. I would not change this. I will play this as written. That's perfect, right? Because when I do this, it's going to be something that I ask players to think about their character as somebody they're going to be able to play, hopefully, for a while, right? Very, very cool. I'm sure it has Fancy and Magic. I don't know why he would change that from White Box, right? Okay, now, with that said, I also did not want to use my own worlds. I've been using Island of Seul for 10 years. I wrote Island of Seul about 10 years ago. I used it for a lot of stuff. And then, of course, Broadlands for the last 6 years I've been using for my OSRs. Those are mine, and I know them well, of course, but I'm a little tired of them, and I thought, I kind of want to use somebody else's game, of course, and I wanted to use some other campaign world that was agnostic. This is Aird. This is the actual campaign world for Castles and Crusades. The actual codex of the entire world, the lore, the maps, the calendar, the gods, the pantheon of gods, all of this stuff gives me the world of Aird. to use. So I'll be using this for the world that I run games in with 3d6 in order. Agnostic, so I don't have to worry about monster blocks or any of that stuff here. And again, no Castles and Crusades rules are relevant to this book. So this I can use for my... So for those of you, at some point, I will make an offer to run games. I will be using this book. You don't have to buy it. It's pretty simple. You know, I can walk people through if they want to be a ranger or whatever. And of course, they don't have to buy this book. They don't have to know anything about this world. It'll come up as we play. But I will be reading and studying this, and I will be setting up a potential start for players in this OSR. So anyway, that's where I'm at. That's where my head was at before I came back online, before I went out and dug out to make sure I could find all my old books and everything. I had already ordered these. This is what I intend on running. That is not my Dark Age of Man playtests, right? This will be what I run. So, and that's it. I'm going to focus on my energies on, as a GM, running something consistent for players who want to show up and play when I'm running. So, all right, you guys have a fantastic 4th of July. Thank you for watching. Good day.